quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
Edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. February 5th, 2025, we are officially 2 weeks into President Trump's second term. And let me tell you, it's been an absolute whirlwind. But at this time, the man in charge isn't walking in blind. So he's not figuring out the systems as he goes. He knows exactly how Washington works now. And for the last 4 years, he's been getting ready for this moment. So this is a very different Trump administration than we experienced in 2017. Big time, folks. In 2017, there was a learning curve, as every president does have in their first term. Trump was the ultimate political outsider. He came in with fresh ideas and different way of doing things, not knowing how things work, never holding an elected position in his life. I mean, how many presidents have become president without ever being elected to anything? You take out the first couple presidents, right, in the beginning of the country, then who have we had that has never had an elected position before? But he was also surrounded by bureaucrats and establishment figures who weren't on his side. Fast forward today, he's wiser, sharper, more prepared than ever. He's not dealing with deep state surprises. He knows where the landmines are, and this time he's not stepping on them. And that's exactly why we're seeing swift and decisive action, starting with the confirmation of his new Attorney General, Pam Bondi. We see in other things that are collateral to all of this. Take, for example, Army recruiting. Army recruiting's through the roof now. The U.S. Army had their best December in 15 years. Pete Hegseth took to X to share the news. Bottom line, America's youth want to serve under the bold and strong America First leadership of President Donald Trump. In October 2023, the Army unveiled a series of sweeping changes. Its recruiting enterprise, including an expanded focus on larger share of the labor market in the creation of the Specialized Talent Acquisition Workforce. The Army surged medical providers to military entrance processing stations across the country to help make the enlistment process more efficient, I should say. So recruiting's through the roof because people want to serve now. And think about this. Anybody that goes into the military, into service, they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it for the mission. They're doing it to serve. There was also a notable expansion of the branch's future soldier preparatory course, which helps potential recruits overcome academic and physical fitness barriers to service, while allegedly not sacrificing quality for quantity. Still, the U.S. military missed its recruiting goals by 41,000 recruits in 2023. In 2024, the Army announced it was cutting its force by 24,000 and restructuring to help this service fight in future wars. The almost 5% of jobs cut affected posts that remained empty, according to the Army. So that it just speaks for it. They couldn't recruit. They were falling tens of thousands short of recruits under the Biden administration. Trump gets elected November, December's best month in recruiting in 15 years. You don't have to be Elon Musk to figure this one out, folks. And tomorrow, President Trump will sign executive order, or actually, I think he's doing it today, I should say, to keep biological men out of women's sports through Title X or Title IX, pressuring schools to comply with the mandate by threatening to pull federal funds. That's how you can control that, by the way. The order will mandate a visa review of athletes who enter the U.S. to compete and mark the wrong sex on their application for potential fraud. That's a unique way to look at it. I get that. Allowing trans women to compete against biological women is dangerous and unfair, White House officials said in a call previewing the signing this morning. Now, scheduled for tomorrow's show was Jennifer Says. Jennifer Says was the CEO. She's a big executive at Levi Strauss Company. And if you remember, a couple of years ago, she had the whole thing with Levi's about women and men in women's sports, and they wanted her to be quiet. And then they said, well, if you leave and we give you a few $1 million and, you sign an NDA, you shut up about it. She said no. She rejected the money, and she spoke out, and she didn't want Levi's going the way of Bud Light, and she thought it would ruin the brand. But she started her own company, XXXY. So she been talking with her, and she's agreed to come on. She originally was slated for tomorrow's show. Now, I don't know if that's I haven't heard if it's going to affect, because she was at the White House today for the signing. I'm assuming she can still do the show tomorrow. So if that hasn't changed because of the way this timed out, because I talked to her a while ago, but hopefully we'll have Jennifer Says on for tomorrow. That would be pretty cool. But last night, the Senate confirmed Pam Bondi as the next U.S. Attorney General. And make no mistake about this. This was a major victory for the Trump administration, folks. Bondi was Florida's Attorney General, a tough prosecutor, and someone who has never backed down from a fight. And now she's stepping into the most powerful position in Washington, besides the president, of course. Now, the vote was 54-46, bipartisan. And here's where it gets interesting. Senator John Fetterman, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, in case you missed that, crossed the party lines. He voted with the Republicans. And that's something we don't see every day. So what does it mean? Well, does Fetterman see something his party doesn't? I think he does, actually. I think there are a lot of Democrats who are trying to be heard, who see a lot of things that the new left does not see. And is this a sign that cracks are forming in the Democratic ranks? We'll talk about that a little bit. Back to Bondi. She made it very clear in her confirmation hearing that the days of political weaponized Justice Department are over. She called out the long-running targeting of Trump and his allies, going all the way back to 2016. We've seen it. Investigation after investigation, politically motivated charges, a double standard when it comes to how justice is applied in this country. There were impeachment papers filed before he was sworn in 2017. On principle, it was Trump, not that he had any action that warranted it yet. And Bondi did not mince any words here. I'm quoting her. If I'm Attorney General, I will not politicize this office. I will work to restore confidence and integrity in the Department of Justice in each of its components. Under my watch, the partisan weaponization of the DOJ will end, unquote. Strong words, but the real question is, will she be able to clean house there? Well, it looks like that process is kind of underway. A lot of news out of CIA, by the way, as Trump has offered across the board for federal employees. They'll get paid if they just leave on their own. They get paid till August or September, 8 months. And they can go on and do something else. I think 20,000, last I saw, 20,000 federal employees grabbed that. I mean, you have majority of a year off. Well, you can decide what you want to do. Even before Bondi was confirmed, acting Attorney General James McHenry made headlines by firing more than a dozen prosecutors who had been involved in the investigations into Trump. Now, think about that. These were prosecutors who built cases against Trump based on evidence collected by the DOJ and FBI. And McHenry said they could not be trusted to carry out the president's agenda fairly. No kidding. And now the FBI is suing. They don't want any retaliation if they worked on all these bonus, including the Mar-a-Lago raid, under the guise they don't want their names released. I think the guy that was going through Melania's drawers should definitely be fired. Let's be clear. This isn't just about loyalty. It's about restoring credibility to a Justice Department that has lost the trust of American people. When you have career prosecutors openly using the system to target one political side while giving the other a pass many, many times, and people's careers were stunted or ruined if they tried to do their job when it came to investigating Hunter or Joe Biden or any of the Biden family members, that's a real problem. And it looks like the Trump administration is taking it very seriously. And of course, Democrats and the media are losing their minds, calling this a purge and claiming Trump is using the DOJ as a weapon. But let me ask you this. Where was all this outrage when the DOJ was going after Trump for years? And story after story proved to be just bull. They lied to the FISA court. They orchestrated. They leaked information to the media, let the media print a story, then went to the FISA court with the media story they leaked. So they would write the story and say, look, this corroborates what we said. That's how it happened, folks. Where was the concern about justice at that time? Bureaucrats, operatives, and career officials were working behind the scenes to undermine an elected president. And they were spying, not just on a candidate, but on president-elect, and then even a president. Let's call it what it is. Trump is finally playing offense. And the establishment doesn't know how to handle it. They're not used to that. And I don't even call it, me personally, I don't call it offense because they broke these crimes. They broke these laws and committed these crimes, I should really say. So just let the system, the attorney general, do it. If you didn't break well, we used to think if you didn't break a crime, you couldn't be charged, but they proved us wrong on Trump. Trump 2.0, this is a different kind of presidency, folks. But we have to take our first break here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. So let me remind you, you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Ted A behind the board flying the controls. He'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. And let me remind you, we stream 24/7 on the TuneIn app like thousands of other radio stations do. And I do stream my show on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch TV, even LinkedIn profile. And of course, we do actually stream on the Rumble channel live. So stick with us, folks. We'll be back in 2 and 10. And we'll continue with the Wednesday edition.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Perner Logging and Land Clearing, fully equipped with state-of-the-art equipment to handle all of your lot and land clearing needs, whether it's 1 acre or 100. They regularly service customers in the local area and will travel to neighboring communities and beyond to get the job done. Now, whether you're doing new construction, renovations, or clearing land for a new development, the Perner Logging and Land Clearing team of experienced personnel makes small or large jobs run efficiently, giving them the ability to always keep the competitive edge. They'll quote your job from something small to hundreds of acres, factoring in all aspects, including the wood salvage value, if any. In addition, they have the right equipment for each size job, making for the most efficient job site possible. For every job, Perner Logging and Land Clearing makes sure the client's goals are the main objective. Call Perner Logging and Land Clearing today for a free estimate, 978-270-9916. That's 978-270-9916.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Reminding you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000 for the remainder of the hour. And I haven't quite finished my opening thoughts and statements yet because we're definitely going to talk about Trump International at Gaza proposal. That was a bombshell drop last night, that we will own Gaza next to Bibi Netanyahu. We're definitely going to get into that. And of course,
you used the word Riviera.
It will be the Middle East, Riviera of the Middle East. And I've already seen AI generated, futuristic cities supposedly over this, and he's right. It's absolutely in shambles there. And nothing, I'm getting ahead of myself, but yes, nothing has worked for forever in that area. And those Palestinians, 1.7, 1.8 million, are living, fearing their life every day. There's ammunition that hasn't gone off. They're living in collapsed buildings and rubble. I'm not sure the mechanism for all this. I was texting with Peter Blute last night when this was breaking, and I'm like, Peter, what's the mechanism? He's thinking, well, maybe a UN resolution, first of all. Maybe the UN has to get involved. Very interesting. We will definitely get into that. But 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let me go to the phones. They're filling up. Mark is first. What say you, Mark?
How are you today? Nice day today.
Oh, yeah. It's good. Nice and
Yeah,
warm
you ready?
inside.
You ready for the possible ice storm tomorrow?
I was hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Possibly.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. You remember the last one, right? That we had about 10 or so years ago?
Oh, man, that killed people in North Worcester County, right? I mean, that was wiped them out. They didn't have power
I was out for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I was wondering, how does that happen with the infrastructure today? But it happened.
Yeah, well,
we got to bury the power lines, right?
Yeah. Look at National Grid. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. True.
All right. Yeah. Well, we don't want to pick off National Grid, so we'll move on. So, anyways, what I wanted to say is everybody's having a good laugh. All the late night pundits and various other and sundry shills having a good laugh. You know what? What Trump said yesterday is exactly what's going to go down in the Gaza. The Israelis are going to get out of there. You know why? Because they want to get out of there. It's costing them a fortune in life and limb. Not only that, and in money. And they want out of there. And they told Trump, listen, man, we don't want it anymore. You want to go back in there and clean up that garbage site? You're welcome to it. You can have it. You can declare it a U.S. protectorate, okay? Until ad infinitum. And do with it what you will. But don't ask us to put a nickel into rebuilding that sucker, okay? Yeah. And Netanyahu said, cool. We're out of there. You're in there. You deal with it. But don't be asking us for money and reparations because you ain't going to get a nickel. Can you live with that, Mr. Trump? And he said, yep, I can live with that. So that's what's going to go down. That's my humble opinion.
Mark, and I want to ask your opinion on this because I think something very interesting was said yesterday or last night when Trump was out there. And I didn't see a lot of coverage on this. But at one point, I think it was actually Peter Ducey who asked him about you signing all this. And what about Iran? They both Netanyahu and Trump, that they have tried to assassinate both men. And there's a current price on Trump's head right now. Iran's trying to assassinate him. And Trump made a statement, I got to paraphrase, I don't have it in front of me, something to the effect of, yeah, that would not be a very good thing. If they were to do that, they haven't been able to do it. If they were to do that, meaning kill him, he said they will be obliterated. I left instructions. He said I left instructions, and they said they'll be obliterated, wiped off the face of the earth. Did you catch that, Mark?
Yes, I did. And I know he's capable of doing that. The guy he blew up in Iraq.
Soleimani.
Yeah, he was walking down the street.
Yeah, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, they dropped a cruise missile right down his spy hole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's got the capability to do that, and he will do it. Yeah, he's done it before.
Absolutely.
But in the end game, yeah, everybody's laughing at him, ha ha ha. But
They
you know
always
what?
do. They always do.
But I'm saying, but because of the reasons I pointed out, we're going to be there. And I don't know if I'll be alive in 2 years from now, but we'll be there, and that place will be halfway built up to where they want it. It'll be a U.S. protectorate. You know what? I'm going to tell you another thing too. In the northern part of Gaza, not more than 5 miles from the Mediterranean Sea, not right up on it, but about 5 miles in. So they got a little buffer zone for any incoming coming in from the sea. And listen, they're going to have a joint U.S. military base, a big one, in northern Gaza. And they're going to have the U.S. Air Force there, and they're going to have the U.S. Army there, and they're going to have the United States Marines there. And you know what? That's going to be the watchdog.
It will be the Mark. I think you're right.
The whole of the Middle East. If anybody funds in Kuwait or anywhere in that Middle East, they're going to know about it.
Absolutely, Mark. And I think you're right. Of course, we're going to have a base there eventually because, A, for two things, right? We've got to replace the Bagram Air Force Base that we lost in Afghanistan because Joe Biden's an idiot. And B, we have to watch and protect. We're going to have an investment there. And I think the timetable is by 2028. Of course, Trump wants that place looking good before he leaves office. If he stays the full term, I don't know. Maybe if he accomplishes enough in the first 2 years, he's like, JD, I'm out. You got this. Who knows? Thank you, Mark, for the call. Always appreciate it.
You know,
Ted,
Trump also indicated that he doesn't want to do this all alone. No. He wants.
He's already talked to Saudi
1, 2,
Arabia.
3, maybe 12 different zones supported by
international community and the Middle East. And he did this with the Abraham Accord, right? Because Iran is always the disruptor here, folks. And Trump went in and saw what all presidents have done before him and the fact that no peace was coming to the Middle East. And he said, well, why don't we just go around Iran, get something going with all the countries around Iran? Well, we can't do that. Why can't you do that? Well, sir, we've never done it. That's not a reason for Trump. He did, and I've talked about this before in my mind, he did what any real estate developer would do when they have a tough customer. They bought all the land up around them and squeeze them out. He went to Saudi Arabia. He went to Syria. He went to Turkey. He went around Iran and started making deals. And main deal was Saudi Arabia. And we were going to have flights going directly from Israel to Saudi Arabia. Did you ever think you would see that? And that was with the Abraham's Accord. And he should have gotten the Peace Prize for that. But unlike Barack Hussein Obama, who got it for, I'm not sure. Someone still tell me what he got that for. He doesn't even know why he got that. 508-871-7000. Join the conversation. Tyler, thanks for holding on there, buddy. What say you?
I say with Joe and Ted, we're putting the imbeciles to bed. Joe, I have real questions about listening to your intro, but I got to remind people in the DOJ, when you egregiously and recklessly abuse your authority and you're complaining, you're getting 8 months paid leave and you have the nerve to try and sue because you're insane and suing maliciously, egregiously in violation of due rights, due process, and zoning jurisdictional issues. You did not engage in due diligence. You did not use reasonable recourse. You were driven, motivated with special and egregious circumstances to knowingly, willingly, and recklessly undermine, sabotage, and destroy and incarcerate a man for trying to be president. Of course they recorded them. They have to, because they're paranoid, they're delusional, and they're schizophrenic. Because when you spend your life living lies and covering up crud and crap and destroy the people, the air, and the environment through war, you are in the devil's den. And without due process, we are disclosing and reducing and diminishing you. And that's important. They should just be lucky they got their money. Hey, Joe, I got to ask you real quick. What did Betsy do with Warren on camera? She had a Rick Perry moment and couldn't speak English?
I did not see it, so I have to rely on a report of it.
Yes, sir. And when this lady left Levi did not see what happened to Bud Light. What happened to Bud Light?
Oh, okay. Well, what the reference I made there is Bud Light did the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing with putting her on a can, who's a male, dressed as a female, put her on the can. Bud Light lost $5 billion in market capital because they lost track of who their customers were. And they had this rogue marketing person whose feeling was the Bud's marketing was too frat, too bro-like, and did this transgender person on a can, and that caused it. And it lost $5 billion. Okay, even one of the Anheuser-Busch kids wanted to buy it back to the family, and they're trying to recover. Okay, so when I say Levi, she was like, "Don't do this, don't change." Levi jeans came out of the gold rush. It was Levi and Strauss came up with this idea of making tough pants out of this canvas for the miners, right? That were having to live out in the mountains and doing, digging for gold in the trail and all this stuff. That's where they came from. The original jeans had rivets on them, actual rivets that held them together, and they were indestructible. And they built, Levi Strauss is one of the most iconic American companies you can think of. Okay. Yep. And she was like, we can't do this woke thing and then trying to say and market to transgender females with our jeans. And women have been wearing regular men's jeans since day one. So what do you need to do that for? Anybody can wear the jeans. So anyway, she refused to go that path, and she refused to take hush money to shut her mouth on the way out the door. And then she started XXXY clothing. So she was at the White House today for the signing of the executive order.
Isn't that awesome? And, it's funny, you return common sense and you have actual action. One of the biggest hypocritical scams that I had the pleasure of bringing to our attention was, President, protect that border. We're going to protect that border. And when Trump gets in, he's appealing to our paranoid delusions. These people are insane. Trump's in. Common sense, swift and precise action. It's going to make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Common sense is definitely back on the table here. Thank you very much, Tyler. I'm against the clock for the mid-show break. Folks, we have to break for halfway through the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000. Lines open and available back in 2 and 10.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
Meteorologist Sherry Spearn, here's the latest Boston 25 weather on radio 830 WCRN. It's going to be bright and chilly today with highs in the 20s. Tomorrow we're back in the 30s, but it's going to take a long time to warm up. So when precipitation moves in mid to late morning tomorrow, it starts as snow. In fact, north and west of Boston into the Worcester Hills, I think it's going to be snowy and slippery travel all day long. In southeastern Mass, we might see a little transition to some rain, but I would get ready for about 3 to 5 inches of snow north of the Pike and 1 to 3 south of the Pike here for your Thursday plans. Showers will end during the late afternoon or early evening. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. You can hear Boston 25 live from Morning Drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Wednesday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. We're doing a share. The share show is something's coming to Hanover, so I think we're going to have some tickets available for that, folks. Go check it out, Hanover Theater. I have to go check it out. I don't think it's Cher. What is she, like 91? Right? I think it's a Cher impersonator, and they do a musical about her life. But if you're a Cher fan, and unfortunately, like so many entertainers, especially singers, who I've been a big fan of and I've loved for years, they step out of their lane into politics. And obviously, especially if they're Hollywood, or they don't necessarily line up with
Joe,
me.
the beat goes on.
Yeah, the beat goes on. So, but I still have always loved Cher, and maybe it's a show I'll check out. But listen to our ads there. Check out the Hanover Theater. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN. Let's go to the phones. Ken has been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Good afternoon, Joe. I thought I would speak just briefly on the topic, one of the topics you brought up, because there's so many topics.
Yeah, I know.
But
this is crazy. Woo-hoo! What a time to be in talk radio.
Yeah, count me as a skeptic about the Gaza Riviera.
Trump International going up?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's like 70 to 80% of the public that is at least skeptic, if not avid. No.
Okay, but like everything else, is what Trump actually says what he wants when he says it, or is it he always does this, right? Look what 25% tariff and oh no, they all concede right away. Now Trump's getting the kind of cooperation and deal he wanted all along. Yeah, Greenland, we don't want to be bought. Well, do you want us to have more of a presence? Do you want our protection? And do you want to be an economic partner with the United States? Yeah, we like that. So I don't know. Maybe again, a lot of I'm going to borrow a phrase, Ken, that we hear. That Trump is playing fourth dimensional chess, and the rest of the government is playing checkers.
And I don't know how much fake outs can work. There's just a limit to it. Because wait a minute, this is another fake threat. And I heard.
Yeah, but see, that's the other thing. Does he ever really bluff? He doesn't always. He if he sets his mind and he says something, look what's going on in Panama Canal. They already, terminated agreements with China. They're auditing those deals, right? Who knows? Anyway, your thought on it. I agree with you. I said I did. Like I said, I was texting Peter last night going, are you watching this? And I said, what's the mechanism for this? Basically, are you telling us we're going to invade sovereign land or a war-torn land and just take it?
The benefit of negotiating in this way is that you're not imposing the might of the United States. You're offering the person a choice, and they have a choice either or. And the or is undefined.
Yeah. Ted, excuse me, Ken.
Well, the topic I wanted to move to, because this is going so many different directions, is USAID.
Yes.
And wow, did that get the attention of the radical left? Ooh,
because we didn't even realize it's been the Democrat slush fund
for money laundering
decades.
Well,
right?
It started, I think, under
John F. Kennedy in 1961.
And so I think its purpose originally was the Cold War, and we're going to promote democracy and fight communism throughout the world. And then it morphed into what the two of you have just described.
Yeah.
And boy, is it corrupt.
Let me, because I made a note on this. Of Musk's primary targets is the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, founded in 1961 by President John F. Kennedy. U.S. aid was originally intended to provide non-military foreign aid with a focus on humanitarian and development assistance. However, over the years, it has ballooned into an inefficient behemoth with a budget exceeding $50 billion, with a B, folks, dollars. Despite good intentions, U.S. aid has been plagued by waste management and a lack of accountability. The reality is that much of the foreign aid does not reach the intended recipients, instead disappearing into corrupt foreign governments, bloated administrative costs, and ineffective programs. So there was, under Kennedy, and ratified by Congress, a altruistic, a good motivation, good reason for this. But like a lot of things that go unchecked and funding blindly goes in there. And don't forget, they had an internal policy that they cannot deny anything, including when they know it's fraud and it was going to go to terrorism. They couldn't deny it. So what did you think was going to happen to the USAID?
Well, what it did spur on is what a reaction. You had right front and center why Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
But Somalia's getting $2 billion. And guess who was just behind Ilhan Omar to the right? Yeah, Worcester's congressman.
I saw that. McGovern. I saw McGovern nodding in the background too, is behind him on his right. Yeah. I'm going, oh, there's Jim. Okay. And he's believing it, he's eating it all up.
A lot of makeup.
He's all the congressmen who love communists. Like Raskin. Yeah, he's right up there too. And then did you catch AOC?
When she said he's the most unintelligent billionaire I've ever met or seen.
Elon Musk stupid.
I don't know. If you check my X account, when I saw that last night, I think I X'd out or tweeted out, whatever we call it now. AOC, Elon Musk, the most unintelligent billionaire. Think about this. Let that sink in. AOC is talking about somebody's intelligence. Let that one sink in. Okay. First of all, that's an oxymoron. Billionaire, moron. They don't go together.
I would rather have him make my drinks than AOC.
Who?
I would rather have him make my drinks rather than the bartender.
Oh, you mean
AOC.
Elon make your drink?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, right?
I believe he's like Trump and doesn't drink.
No, he doesn't.
Right.
No, he just likes to make babies. Lots and lots of babies. Yeah. No,
So-
I saw AOC and I'm like, oh my goodness. This is the woman who thought the three branches of the government were president, Congress, House, and Senate. I mean, I saw it in real time in an interview. So that's the sitting congressperson. That's what she thinks the three branches of government are. So you tell me that Elon Musk is unintelligent. How many rockets did you put into space, by the way, AOC?
And to think of all of the controversies, I mean, this was connected to the Ecolabs diversion money.
Yep.
In the Wuhan lab.
Mm-hmm. And what about Ken? What about the criticism that part of the people and remember, a lot of these people who are volunteering for Doge, right? There are paid people, but some people are actually volunteering, and some of these younger people are sleeping on cots because they're just working all the time. And the left is criticizing, and this is the irony of this, folks, criticizing that they're young, right? And AOC, wait a minute. If we go by that, should you have even been in Congress at your age with your experience? But let's put a pin in that one. So what if they're young, right? It doesn't matter. They're being presented a mathematical problem, and that is money in, money out. Where's it going? That's all they're looking at. And I even heard on our own station here, my own station here, about because, they got access to my Social Security. These bureaucrats, the left, were doing the same thing. Unelected bureaucrats, hold the roll, guys here. What do you think a definition of a bureaucrat is? What do you think? I've been talking about literally for a couple decades, that we have this administrative state of unelected bureaucrats who are constantly affecting your lives in all kinds of ways. They can impose rules and regulations with the effect of law. They're not elected either. So the Democrats don't have a problem with their bureaucrats. They just have a problem with this bureaucrat who is actually has a position in the federal government, answers directly to the president of the United States, just the wrong president as far as they're concerned. So Elon has every right to do what he's been mandated to do, and he's probably one of the few perfect people on the planet for this. And what he did to Twitter, and in kind of the same thing, eliminating almost 80% of the waste there, now we see Mega and other companies kind of following that suit so they can restructure the corporations.
It is brilliant because they're going after Musk and not Trump.
Yeah, it does take some of it off of yeah, that's true.
Really clever.
Yeah.
And Musk isn't even being paid.
No, neither is Trump. Trump doesn't take a salary either. And so aren't a lot of these people who are working on behalf of Doge. They're not taking, they're volunteering it. And good for them. Again, it's about service. And if we're saving a couple $2 billion a day at this rate, great. And look at the money that Biden's people were throwing out the door in the final hours of his administration. Like that kid said.
Gold off the Titanic.
Yep, gold bars off the Titanic.
I'm a skeptic of these figures being thrown around on how much is being saved per day. But if they can save at least $100 billion, great start. All for it.
I say we give Elon Musk a commission. Give him 1% of what he saves.
Well, it creates
he don't want money.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't want power.
But let him name a charity of his choice, like Trump does with his salary every quarter, because the president doesn't get paid weekly, monthly. I don't know if you know this, the president gets paid quarterly. So, because the government runs quarterly, right? So we file our taxes quarterly if you're and all that. So the point is, every quarter he has to name some agency organization to get his pay for that quarter. It has to be approved. He can't just give it away, or he has to pay the tax on it. So that's what he does. Every quarter he names something. Sometimes it's a veteran agency or organization. Sometimes it's whatever. But that's how that works. Final word before I get to let you go.
Well, waiting for tomorrow and the day after, new stories are going to pop up.
And they will. At this pace. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate the call every time. They will. There's going to be no law. I mean, this is just, flooding the zone, as they say. Will it work or won't it work? All right, fourth and final hour coming up, folks. Stick with us. Back on the other side in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
When you're planning your wedding or special event, make sure you and your guests arrive safely and on time. Choose the best. AA Transportation has over 600 vehicles and a team of licensed professional drivers, making them the largest transportation company in Central Mass. AA Transportation delivers world-class service with a personal touch, ensuring the transportation of your wedding or special event goes perfectly. AA Limousine Services can transport wedding parties up to 14 people in our luxurious stretch Cadillac Escalade limos. We provide guest shuttles up to 55 passengers in our activity coaches or buses, so your guests get home safely after celebrating your special day. For custom wedding or event transportation, call AA Limousine Services, 508-791-9100, 508-791-9100, or visit us online at aatransportation.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. I am Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour, a good 13 minutes or so here, folks, at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. And just a little more on this, the different kind of presidency that we're seeing here in this Trump 2.0. And Ted Off-Air made the point that there's criticism about we're losing the brightest and the best. And of course, my reaction is, are we really? Because they've been tainted. But the point being that there are more CVs, resumes, and inquiries being made for these jobs than they can handle. Just like what I talked about at the top of the show with the military, the Army having the best recruiting month in December in 15 years.
And they're qualified Americans.
They are very qualified. As I said to Ted Off-Air, they're not tainted. They would be new qualified employees working under the clear new rules, like you go to an office and you don't double dip and you actually get stuff done. So what's the bigger picture here for us? Well, Trump 2.0 is different. This is not the same Trump administration that we did see in 17.
Oh, no.
But then he was dealing with leaks and backstabbers, media industrial complex, and worked overtime to discredit him, start out lie about him, make up stuff about him. He had advisors and cabinet members who weren't fully on board with his vision. Look at what happened. I've talked about this. I have friends in the State Department. There were embassies around the world that left Barack's picture up for almost 2 years into the Trump presidency. That crap's supposed to be turned over before Inauguration Day. And their attitude in the State Department was, you're only here for a little while. And as far as we're concerned, we don't think you're even going to get the full 4 years. They sure tried to cut that first term short. So we've been here for years or decades. We run the State Department. We don't care what your policy is. We don't care what the American people voted into office. It's a little different this time around.
Just like USAID.
Exactly. He knows how Washington works. He knows who's with him, who's against him, and he's moving fast to put the right people in place. And he's not counting on governors and sitting senators and Congress people to recommend people to put into these jobs. And this is exactly what Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu once said about Trump. He said, Trump sees things no one else does. And it's true. Love him or hate him, you have to admit Trump sees the game for what it is. He understands how the system works. And now he's making moves that others wouldn't even consider, as making this bold statement regarding the Gaza. And that's why today we need to ask, what does Trump's second term really mean for America? How will DOJ operate under Bondi? She's got a lot of cleaning up to do. Is this the beginning of a true deep state takedown? And what about the Republican Party? Are they fully behind Trump this time, or will he see more resistance from the establishment? Has Trump remade the Republican Party forever and ever? Well, remaking the Republican Party, did he destroy the Democratic Party? Hey, we used to have a party called the Whigs in this country at one time. There's nowhere written that said a political party has to exist forever. They can still be called Democrats if they reinvent themselves like the Republican Party has done. So, folks, this is a pivotal moment in American history. You're living it right now. Trump isn't here to play defense. He's here to reshape Washington in a way we haven't seen in decades. And whether you're a supporter or a skeptic, one thing is clear: this deserves discussion. So what are we going to see happen? Look how many fronts we've got. Canada, Mexico, Greenland, Panama Canal, now Gaza. And don't let all of that distract from China and Taiwan and the Strait and what's going on over there. Even Xi Jinping is saying he wants to meet with Trump. He wants to talk to Trump and let's work some stuff out. Because if you don't know, let me tell you now, the Russian economy is as fragile as the Chinese economy. And the Chinese economy is a paper tiger here. It is very fragile. I know they don't act that way and you don't hear about it, but it is. And just like, and I was seeing one of the ministers of Canada earlier, I think on Maria, and he's saying, yeah, and he's telling Canadians in the Canadian government, we cannot let this 30 days go, and we cannot survive this 25% tariff. It will be devastating to the Canadian people. It will be devastating to the Canadian budget. It will hurt our Americans too. He says we'll pay more for energy and certain things, which actually I don't believe, because look, what's oil down to $72 a barrel right now, and under the Trump first administration, oil had gone to $40. It was getting so low. Trump actually had to slow things down to bring it back up because it was going so low that it wasn't going to be worth drilling for. There's actually a price per barrel that has to be maintained for an oil company to actually stay in business, folks. So I'm not sure I believe that 100% through, plus energy. We're talking 10% on the energy. But he was saying we cannot let this happen, meaning we cannot let this 30 days. If we don't, again, I'm reminding you, this is not a tariff war. It's a war on the drugs. The reason Trump threatened to put those in was because these countries were just letting other countries like China abuse America. And by not doing their job on their borders, by knowingly, especially Mexico, by knowingly leaving their southern border porous because they knew they were just passing through to get to America, they were allowing us to be invaded. Look at the numbers. Thousands and thousands a day to 160 a day. So all that tells you is it was totally manageable the whole time, that the border could have been under control the whole time, and that it was meant to happen. So then you ask, well, why? I don't think Joe Biden was that with it to make this decision. I think it was the people around him, I should say. It was the people around Joe Biden who were actually running the government at the time that were allowing this open border policy. So this Israeli-Palestinian conflict has persisted for over a century, folks. Right? Leaving a legacy of destruction, suffering, geopolitical instability. Despite numerous attempts at ceasefires, peace deals, and international interventions, the cycle of violence in Gaza has remained unbroken. Absolutely. Look at the conditions there. Palestinians in that Gaza are existing, surviving, I should say, not even existing. And Trump, known for his unconventional and decisive leadership, he's proposing this absolutely out of left field, groundbreaking plan. I would love to know when this was devised. When did they come up with this? When Bibi got out of the Tahoe in front of the White House? Was it 2 months ago? Was it during President-elect? I don't know. But the United States, he says, will take ownership of the Gaza Strip, level it, and rebuild it into a thriving economic hub. And what does that mean for America, though? He's already told Zelensky that that money that we've given him, we're expecting the rare earth minerals and rights, and we expect to get our money back out of your ground if we have to. They're not going to get it by Trump, guys. This approach, it will be bold. It will be controversial. Could be the reset button that the Middle East desperately needs the Abraham's Accords, right? Which Trump spearheaded during his first term, proved that economic cooperation and diplomacy could foster peace between Israel and its Arab neighbors. Now, with Gaza in ruins and its people living in fear and desperation, Trump sees an opportunity to bring stability and terrorism, create prosperity where only destruction has existed. You know, I heard a lot of calls on this station earlier in the day and so forth. I wish some of those people would call 508-871-7000 during my show to talk about this and debate this. But I know you're listening. I know you just won't call. For decades, the Gaza Strip has been a symbol of suffering. It's been controlled by Hamas, which they, air quotes, have been elected, duly elected. I'd like to know the legitimacy of that election. A designated terrorist organization, by the way. The enclave has been used as a launch pad for attacks against Israel, prompting repeated military responses. Innocent civilians, Palestinian and Israel alike, have paid that ultimate price. The status quo has failed, folks. Simply patching up the destruction and returning control to the same leadership will only perpetuate this cycle. As Netanyahu has said, as Trump has said, Hamas cannot be permitted to exist anymore. It has to be eliminated, or it will reform, relaunch. Trump's vision is different. By eliminating threats, clearing the ruins, rebuilding from the ground up with U.S. oversight, he aims to create a stable and prosperous Gaza, one that can no longer be used as a base for terrorism. And under his plan, the U.S. would take a long-term ownership position in Gaza, ensuring that the region does not fall back into chaos. The immediate steps would have to include things like eliminating Hamas and other terrorist groups, by the way, that will threaten that region's stability, clearing unexploded ordnance and destroying of the destroyed infrastructure, clearing that away to make way for safe rebuilding, create a massive economic development project, providing jobs, and bringing in allies like Saudi Arabia. But we're running against the clock, folks. This is going to have to wrap up the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock, maybe, hopefully, with Jennifer Sayes from XXXY. Her being there for the sighting might have changed things a little bit. We'll see. Either way, a great show tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Joe. So, Joe out. Talk to you later, folks.